Yo, this is Terrance Gaines, aka Brother Tech,
And this is Nica Montford, aka Tech Savvy Diva.
and welcome back to the Snob OS Show, the show for Apple snobs, where we talk all things Apple and then some. We are back with another episode of the Snob OS Show. This is episode 295 of the Snob OS Show. We're approaching 300. That's a good number. I like
Yeah.
that movie. One of my favorite movies. So as we approach 300, we always want to say thank you to all those people who have been rocking with us for so long, downloading the show, listening to the show, interacting with us on social media. We want to give a special shout out to those who are supporting us financially. If you want to become a financial supporter to help us keep the lights on, to let us get to another 300 episodes, please go to patreon.com/snoboscast. You can go there, show us some support, and in exchange, we let you get to listen to the show early because all of our Patreon supporters get to live stream the show. So they get to watch us as we actually produce the show. You get some additional content that you won't find on this show that airs publicly. You know, we want to say a definite special thank you to those people who are supporting us financially by getting them some content that is exclusive to them. And in addition to that, you get access to our Discord community where we are regularly chatting it up about all things Apple. So we definitely want to shout those people out who are supporting us financially. So definitely want to say thank you to those people. And as per usual, we're going to get right into the show. We always start our show with the lowdown where we talk all things Apple. And I've got a couple of quick hits, that I wanted to just do some announcements, some things that have transpired over the past week or so. I'm going to leave the best for last. So let's just get into these first ones. For what it's worth, New Mexico is the latest state to get Apple Wallet ID support. That means all the New Mexico residents, whether you have a driver's license or a state ID, you can now add your ID to the Apple Wallet. I say for what it's worth because there really been no fruits from that transaction. I have never used my wallet, my ID on my wallet one time, and it's been
Same.
sitting there collecting dust for like 2 years almost, maybe
Waiting to
even
be
3 years.
used.
Waiting
Yeah.
to be years. I've been through TSA multiple times. I've been to concerts, all the places where you would think they would be able to scan your phone and find out your verification, find out your age, find out who you say you are. None of those things. I've even actually went, I think I've told this story before. I went to the TSA and were like, hey, please have your ID ready. And I was like, y'all take the ID on the phone? He was like, no. I'm like, but TSA is the main
They
place.
said this is the primary place we could even use this thing.
That's the primary place, but not yet. But if you want to be ahead of the game, New Mexico, you now can add your ID to the Apple Wallet. All right, moving on to the next one. Firefox gets Apple passwords support. If you are a Apple user, like you have a Mac, but you like a lot of people I know, specifically my wife, she has Apple devices, but she uses Google everything. She uses Chrome, she uses Gmail, she uses Maps. So for those people who may be Firefox users with iPhones and Macs, you now get Apple password support. Apple has launched the dedicated iCloud passwords add-on designed for privacy conscious browser Firefox. The new add-on allows Firefox users to access passwords stored on the Passwords app or iCloud keychain when they're using the browser on a Mac. So for all those Firefox users, you need to log into all your web services. There is an extension. I'm assuming it's an extension to where you can enable Apple passwords to where you can easily log into things using your credentials stored in the Passwords app on your Mac. They don't mention iPad, they don't mention iPhone, but they just mention Mac. So we'll try it there. I actually use Firefox as a backup to the backup. It's like third string. Safari, when that don't work, Chrome, when that don't work, Firefox. So once I get to that scenario, I will fire it up and see if it works. All right. So the next thing I got up is Apple Music launches Música Uno station. Basically, it's the first Latin radio station. For those who use Apple Music Radio, I very, very rarely use it because I'm set in my ways and I've got my playlists And I've got my artists. I've got my tracks that I listen to. So I don't need to go finding new stuff. But for those who do use Apple Radio and you are of Latin descent, Apple Music is doubling down on its commitment to fuel Latin music's global presence with the launch of its brand new first ever Latin global radio station, Apple Música Uno radio station, which officially went live this week. The station will be free with no subscription needed. Música Uno will serve as a hub exclusive for all things Latin, covering every spectrum of the genre from reggaeton to pop to Mexican music. Quote, this radio station will allow us to continue building blocks with the artists we've supported since day one, adds Marissa Lopez, Apple's head of Latin music artist relations. Quote, we've seen Latin music's growth in real time, so this launch has been a long time coming. So shout out to Apple Music for extending the music love to all of their listeners, including those Latin and Latinx folks.
Nice.
All right, so we're going to get into the conversation part of the lowdown, and I titled this one, Damned If You Do or Don't. Apple sued over CSAM content. In a lawsuit filed December 7th, the tech giant is accused of reneging. I've always never seen that word as it relates to spades. So whenever I see it in a regular conversation, kind of chuckle. The tech giant is accused of reneging on mandatory reporting duties, which require US-based tech companies to report instances of CSAM, which stands for, and I always forget this, it is what does CSAM stand for? It stands for
child sexual.
I had to look it up because I had it and then I lost it. Anyway, it is no. I'll look it up. Which requires US-based tech companies to report instances of CSAM to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and allowing CSAM to proliferate. And failing to institute promised safety mechanisms, the lawsuit claims, Apple has sold, quote, defective products to specific classes of customers, specifically CSAM victims. Now, what makes this interesting, and I wanted to point it out, and reason why I titled it, Damn If You Do, Damn If You Don't. In 2022, Apple scrapped its plans for a controversial tool that would automatically scan and flag iCloud photo libraries for abusive or problematic material, including CSAM. The company cited growing concern over user privacy and mass surveillance by big tech in its choice to no longer introduce the scanning feature. And Apple's choice was widely supported by privacy groups and activists around the world. But the new lawsuit argues that the tech giant merely used this cybersecurity defense to skirt its reporting duties. So,
how are they supposed to do that if they don't scan your devices that have the potential? That's the whole point. Is you're doing a check, right? You don't know who has it and who doesn't, so you can't quote unquote target people if you don't know who has it, which you don't, because you don't. It's like, what comes first, chicken or the egg?
Right. And it's like, damned if you, and like, again, it's damned if you do, because when Apple announced this CSAM scanning tool, everybody hated it, with the exception of the privacy groups, the consumers. They was like invasion of privacy, invasion of privacy, invasion of privacy. So Apple was like, all right, we hear you.
We heard the people.
Back to the drawing board. Then they go back to the drawing board, and then somebody else sues them. It's like, y'all ain't doing y'all job. It's like, well, which one is it? Do you want us to do the job or you don't? Now, I'm not saying.
Is it Uchiwali or is it one mic? Pick a side.
Right. So it's like, I don't know what y'all want Apple to do. Now, again, maybe this scanning tool may not be the only way to do it, but for Apple to have at least tried to roll out this thing, which personally I would have been in favor for, because again, the data's anonymized, they're not necessarily, like you mentioned, they're not targeting me. They've got this tool out there that just does this thing. When a flag pops up, they take action, whether that be, whatever, once it flags something, then they're into action. The fact that we didn't like it and said, get that out of here. And then Apple's like, all right, we'll take it out. And then we was like, hey, You took that thing out. We're going to sue you. It's like
you can't. The thing is, you can't cherry pick when it comes to this type of stuff, because it comes down to, is it invasion of privacy or is it not? If you want to, check for CSAM, check for
real
these type.
quick, child sexual abuse material. That's what it
Okay.
stands for, because that was bugging me. All right, go ahead.
So how can you check for this material without access? It's, again, like I said, it's what comes first, chicken or the egg? You can't cherry pick and say, I only want you to, quote unquote, invade my privacy for this one specific thing, but not for anything else. But if you have to scan all of the images to find any of this content, then again, I don't know how you make this work. And honestly, I don't know what other tool you could use, because most of this type of content is going to be pictures and videos. So I don't, and people have
How
found a
else are you
way
gonna
to,
find it versus scanning?
yeah. And people have found a way to communicate via words, without actually using the words that would trip it up, using emojis, using, acronyms or
Slang and
slang,
yeah.
or hidden meanings behind words that only people in these communities know. But it's one of those things where, how do you do this without, what can be considered invasion of privacy? For the people who don't, which is probably majority of people who don't have this type of material, sure, it could be an invasion. But for the small amount of people, or the amount of people that do this, they're like, hey, let's keep this out of this. So it's one of those things where it's really, again, you kind of have to pick a side to where you want to be on this. You can't, this is not something you can ride the fence on. It's got to be either or.
Yep, absolutely. And it's just, again, it's like Apple tried, they didn't like it. Apple took it away, you didn't like it. It's like, well, what do you
want us to do, man? Yeah.
All right, so let's moving on to the main story. iOS 18.2 is out finally. Also iPadOS 18.2 and macOS Sequoia 15.2. Also, I'll add watchOS 11.2, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But all of those operating systems were announced this week. Actually, if you're listening to this on Friday, on Wednesday, Apple finally let out iOS 18.2. The biggest thing of iOS 18.2 is Apple Intelligence and Chat GPT integration. Again, the Apple Intelligence is pretty much exclusively for all iPhone 16 owners and all iOS 15 Pro or Pro Max users. In addition to that, any Macs that have the M chip and any iPads that have the M chip will also get the Apple Intelligence. So, of course, the main things for the Apple Intelligence is, like I mentioned, they have the image playground where you can type in descriptions and the image playground will create images for you, whether they can be animated or they can be illustrated. You kind of play around between the two, and you can say words like, once I figured out my, Genmoji, I think is what they call it. You can put other words like at a party or in a tux or with a sailor hat or whatever, and this image playground will create my Genmoji and add those different things to it. You can also use a Genmoji as stickers. So instead of using the default stickers or emojis, you can actually create Genmoji out of those images that you created. It also includes Chat GPT integration again. So when you are asking Siri, hey, I've got some milk and whiskey, can I make an eggnog? Right. Siri, if it can't answer it, it'll hand it off to Chat GPT. Chat GPT will do its thing and find a recipe, including milk and whiskey, right? So that's some stuff that Siri can't do. It passes off to ChatGPT. In addition to that, there are writing tools, to where you can write a sentence and you can ask Apple Intelligence to summarize it, to make it sound more professional, make it sound more casual, add a joke or whatever the case may be. But I would try to do a quick look because I forgot not everybody has a Apple Intelligence device. So I've been trying to look and see what features, if you don't have a Apple Intelligence compatible device, again, iPhone 16, what do you get? And it ain't much. I think some of the writing tools,
probably the email because it does like the new primary where it pops the things most
I was
important
gonna
up to
say
the
that.
top.
And I'll just read a description. In the Mail app, you now have mail categorization, which is what Nica mentioned, what automatically sorts your messages and attempts to prioritize the most important ones, and digest view, which bundles the messages per sender. In Photos, you can now scrub frame by frame on videos, which I remember is something Apple took away and then people complained, so then they put it back. And disable auto looping, so videos don't continue playing once they're finished. Also, Apple has also made some quality of life improvements in the app. You can swipe right to the back of the previous. Wait a minute. You can swipe right to go back to the previous view in collections. I think it's a photo thing. Clear your album history in recently viewed and recently shared, and find your favorites album in utilities as well as pinned collections. So basically, that whole Photos app redo, you get that even if you don't have a Apple Intelligence compatible device. Here's a couple other ones. When you open Safari after updating, you'll notice a new background. You can now export your browsing data and import browsing data from another browser to Safari. Apple is now defaulting URLs to HTTPS instead of HTTP, which the S, think of it, HS stands for security. It's more secure using HTTPS instead of HTTP. Let's see, a couple other things. You can search for things in Apple Music and the Apple TV app with natural language. Let's see, puzzles offers now News Plus puzzles now offers Sudoku. A couple other things that now can work is you can use the AirPods Pro 2 as hearing aids. And then in the Stocks app, you'll now see pre-market price quotes to track the NASDAQ and NYSE tickers before the market opens. So that rundown is pretty much the non-iOS 18.2 features. And I'm pretty sure there's some security stuff that goes along with that. But the majority of this is going to be the Apple Intelligence, specifically the new Siri prompt thing, and then the Chat GPT. So have you had a chance?
Visual intelligence.
And visual intelligence. Yes, I forgot about visual intelligence, to where you can take a picture of something and use Chat GPT to kind of identify what it is, find out where you can buy it, things of that nature. So have you had a chance to play with any of these features?
So a little bit with visual intelligence because, I think I mentioned it back when we first got our new phones that I was having some issues with the install. And I thought maybe it's just the first time. Nope, I had some problems this go around too with getting 18.2. So I think my phone may be a dud, but I just got it set up perfectly. And so I'm annoyed. But I got the M4 iPad that I got for Black Friday. I got it. Was it last week? I think the end of last week. Updated perfectly fine without any issues. So again, it was a thing of after you install it, when it boots back up, it just like the hello screen and it kind of walks you through visual intelligence. So I kept trying to use it and nothing happened. And I'm like, what the hell? Is it broken? I went and looked at a YouTube video and said, how does this thing work? Ask Siri, girl, do it. I want to see. And it was the same thing with the Apple Intelligence. It had to download, the models for it or whatever. You had to be on Wi-Fi. Your phone had to be charged to
you
power.
Got to ask for permission, right? Did you have to do that to where ask for the wait list for Apple Intelligence? Maybe they did that for the public beta.
I think
right,
for
continue.
So it just went ahead and start the download for for the libraries for Apple Intelligence. So it's kind of like an add-on to what we already had. But again, you had to be on Wi-Fi and you had to be connected to power. And for me, it wasn't showing anything. It wasn't showing like a progress or anything. And then randomly, it will pop up and say, it's at 5% or 10% or whatever the case may be. So it was really weird, and I thought it was broken. Like I wasn't getting the glow around Siri anymore, and I think all of that stuff was disabled. I think all the Apple Intelligence features for Siri were disabled while it was downloading the new features, because it just kind of gave, the little circle at the bottom that kind of like does a little squiggle. And I was like, oh crap. I was like, I never really used Siri like that before, so I don't remember if it did the glow before, and I thought it was broken, but it wasn't. It just disabled. It appeared to disable all of the Apple Intelligence features while it was upgrading to your visual intelligence, to the new Siri stuff, to all the new Apple Intelligence stuff. It disabled a bunch of the other things. And so when you you have to press and hold the camera control to activate visual intelligence. And when it boots back up, it tells you that. It was like, hey, try it out. This is what you do. And it's that interesting thing of when you press the side button, it gets kind of like that indentation on the screen of the phone, which is kind of weird, because previously, if you were using the camera controls, you didn't kind of see that kind of like wave. It's almost like you're pushing the screen yourself.
Yeah, and it does it for the other buttons too, the volume up, volume down, and the lock screen. Yeah.
So so once it all was downloaded, I kind of played with it a little bit, not too much because I'm in my house, but I'm going out after we record the show, so I'm going to try out some features, while I'm out. So I only did my phone and my iPad because I was like, let me wait to see how this is going to work before I put it on my Mac. And it was right before it was still downloading from my phone before the show. And I was like, I'll just leave my Mac alone until after, record, and after at least the phone and the iPad are updated. So it goes ahead and it pops up the playground icon for you to use that. Haven't had a chance to play around with that yet, but so all the things are there, and they're out. I'm sure probably over the rest of the week I'll try some of them out and kind of get an idea. But right now I have them on my two mobile devices. So we had a little struggle at the beginning, but we're done. We made it to the other side. So we'll see how it works once I have something I can actually use it to kind of test out, to kind of see how it works outside.
Yeah. Probably the thing that tickles is, I guess, is the right way. The image playground. So I tried to go in and make like for my family, me and my wife, my 3 kids, make their little avatars. I ain't gonna call them Genmojis. They're just little avatars.
Okay.
And it nailed my son. It nailed my middle child, and it nailed my oldest child. It kind of got my wife. I cannot match myself at all. I appreciate it slimming my face down, and I appreciate, clear skin. And I appreciate that my beard and everything aligns up.
It was all crisp.
Perfectly, but it don't look like me. And I've tried it, but this is me playing with the public beta. Now, since we've got the actual 18.2, maybe they've, cleaned it up a little bit more, but I can see people playing with that the most, trying to make themselves in the image playground, and probably the Chat GPT integration. I tend to use that unknowingly a lot. And sometimes I'm like, Siri, you can't do that, because again, the whole point of Apple's version of Apple Intelligence is it uses Siri as much as possible. If Siri just can't do it, then it'll sub it out, for lack of a better term, subcontract it out to Chat GPT to scrape the web and find what you're looking for. And in some of the instances that I've just said, hey, do this, do that, what is it, like math calculations, what is because I'm in the process of buying cars. So I'm like, what's 7% of, $17,000? It's asking ChatGPT. I'm like, wait, Siri, you can't do that. You can't tell me.
Pull up the calculator, girl.
Right. Well, so I went in double checked to make sure that the prompt, because you can actually in the settings have Siri, you have to manually give the okay for Siri to then farm it out to ChatGPT. So I had to make sure that was set, so it's like, all right, well, why ain't you, maybe
doing
it's the way
thing.
I'm asking it.
Yeah.
Maybe the whole natural language thing is more suitable for, and that's what I think it is. I think ChatGPT understands natural language more so than Siri right now. Now, I'm pretty sure that's going to flip flop as Apple gets better at the natural language stuff, which still, Apple announced 18.2, but the whole natural language thing, it still ain't baked in.
It's not there yet. Nope.
As they said at WWDC, we still got to wait for that. So
Yeah.
I'm guessing the reason why ChatGPT kind of cut in line to answer that is because it understands my natural language better, more so than Siri, because Siri is very, very strict. You got to ask a certain prompt, a certain way to get things done versus ChatGPT. You can just start talking and it kind of can figure out what you meant.
It's conversational. Yeah.
So I'm thinking that's what it is. But all that to say, if you do have a compatible iPhone, iPad, or Mac, definitely, download iOS 18.2 because like I mentioned, the Apple Intelligence, the visual intelligence, and the Chat GPT integration is what you're going to get the most. Everybody else will get the writing tools. They'll get, some mail, like Nica mentioned, the new mail thing where it breaks it out into categories and a couple other things. But definitely go get it, download it. Let us know what you think. All right, so that's going to do it for the lowdown. We're going to move into second string. I never say no to a donut.
Love the donuts.
Anytime I can make a trip to get some Krispy Kreme, I will do it. But it looks like, again, to my chagrin, that Krispy Kreme has actually been hacked. International donut chain Krispy Kreme disclosed a security incident on this Wednesday, which the company said has caused, quote, certain operational disruptions, including with online ordering in parts of the United States. The company said that shops around the world are still open and there's no interruption to deliveries to retail and restaurant partners, but disclose the aforementioned disruptions in the United States. So I'm upset about this because I don't want to have to go to a Krispy Kreme to find out that I can't order online and have it picked up at the store. So I just wanted to make sure that y'all know about this because this is something close to my, as the young kids say, big back heart.
Man, they coming for the donuts.
Coming for the donuts of all the things to hack. You want to hack the donuts.
I mean, I'm not, saying that, anybody should do anything illegal, but you could be hacking things that actually improve people's lives. Hacking Krispy Kreme, it hurts people.
Right.
They find joy in the donuts.
Right. I'm saying you're probably doing us a favor because we need to cut back on the donuts. But as far as my emotional well-being, you're killing me.
Killing me. But it's interesting that they say that you can still go into the store and order. Their deliveries on the retail and restaurant side are still fine. So I'm wondering exactly what this.
I think it's online orders. Like if I was on my mobile app trying to order something, like let's say I'm having a party and I want to, get, 30 or 40 donuts delivered to the house or whatever the case may be, or I want to go pick up, but I got to submit the order ahead of time. I think the online part is what is experiencing the disruptions. The physical part, going into the store, the actual delivery drivers, I think that's not affected. I just think being able to order online or place an order.
So their point of sale looks fine. It's just online ordering.
That's what they say. They say it doesn't mess with the, the point of sale, or it doesn't have any issues with the actual stores. And there's no disruption to deliveries and to retail and restaurant partners. So think of like gas stations have Krispy Kreme donuts, grocery stores
have
the Krispy Kreme donuts. They don't mess none of that up. It just messes up the consumer facing online ordering portion from what I can understand.
Interesting.
So
leave
nevertheless,
the donuts alone. Leave the donuts
I
alone.
have to make sure to go into the store. I won't order none online, but I will make that trip. All right, so that is it for the coach. I'm sorry, for second string. We're gonna move into for the culture, and I got a couple quick hits here. For those who don't know, Nikki Giovanni, the bold, beloved, indelible poet, activist, author, and professor, died at the age of 81 this week in Virginia due to complications caused by lung cancer, according to her wife, Virginia Fowler. So I just want to do a shout out to Nikki Giovanni. I'm pretty sure most people of all shapes, forms, races, creeds, colors, genders have been exposed to some sort of Nikki Giovanni art. Specifically, she was a poet. So a lot of her work will be in poets. I'm assuming she's written some books, but most people, like I mentioned, know Nikki Giovanni per her poems, especially in the Black community. You know, that's one of our matriarchs. You know, as far as artists, as far as leaders, whether it be cultural or political. I read a little bit of her, not necessarily her biography, but just her upbringing and how she was in college and was on the verge of getting kicked out. Specifically, she went to Fisk for undergrad.
HBCU.
And she ran the risk of getting kicked out because she was too busy protesting. I thought that was interesting, you know, and then she graduates, so, you know, honors and all that good stuff. And then she goes on to go to, I think, University of Pennsylvania. And then, you know, and I think that's when the poetry bug hit her. So then she, you know, drops out and then she becomes the poet, Nikki Giovanni. So just want to do an RIP to her. She'll definitely be missed. Some of our elders
are becoming ancestors.
Yeah, man. It's
cancer,
tough pill to
man.
swallow.
Sucks. I mean,
yeah, man. It seems like a lot of the people are having health complications, not necessarily just, you know, I've lived a long life. A lot of people could still be here if not for some of their health issues. So definitely got to pay attention to that, you know, especially in our community, because
absolutely,
you know, we now are upwardly mobile to where we can get that stuff done, but we still kind of have that old, you know, I ain't going to the doctor because I don't want no bad news. You know, we got to get out of that because, you know, I definitely want to be here forever. I ain't going, you know, freeze my, you know, head or I ain't going to but I don't want to live as long as possible, as long as I'm
long as healthy as possible. Absolutely.
And not being a burden on anybody either. That's one thing. If I'm going to be a burden on somebody, I may not necessarily purposely check out, but it's like, you know, I want to make sure that I'm old enough to where I still can, you know, move and be mobile
and function and
without
enjoy
being
your
a
life.
burden. Without being a burden on anybody. So we definitely want y'all to be around, you know, so we you know, as old as we are, we definitely look to our elders. So we want to keep y'all around.
Definitely rest in power to this. I mean, she was bold and she unabashed. She definitely didn't hold back any criticism, and she spoke truth to power. So definitely rest in power to her, and condolences to her loved ones and her family. It's sad, man. It really is.
Yep, absolutely. Speaking of health issues, Jamie Foxx scared us. He's not one of our elders, but you know, he scared us earlier this year with some health issues. Come to find out, I think it was stroke related, but we really didn't know until Jamie Foxx actually released a highly anticipated Netflix special called Jamie Foxx. What had happened was this week as well, Foxx insisted that what happened to him was still unknown. And we quote, "We still don't know exactly what happened to me." However, Foxx used the comedy special and his diagnosis from medical experts to make the best sense of his situation for his first stand-up special since 2003. And I haven't watched it yet.
I haven't either.
The clips that I've seen, he, of course, makes light of his health scare. But I think the most specific or detailed he got was the fact that he had a brain bleed. So he was hemorrhaging in his head And I think that led to or caused him to have a stroke, which is
Mm.
what put him in the hospital. And then trying to figure out where the
What
brain bleed
caused it?
came from is the mysterious illness or the mysterious thing that happened to him. And I don't think again, I haven't watched the special, so I don't think he gets more specific past that. But he does do a good job of making light of that. He does make a good job of making light of the rumors, specifically the whole Diddy thing. Jamie Foxx, just like Diddy, they used to have these crazy parties. It was reported that Jamie Foxx was at some of those Diddy parties, which again is kind of sad. I feel sorry. I don't want to say I feel sorry for Diddy. That's not what I want to say. But I think that anybody who was just an attendee at a party of some sort thrown by Diddy is getting lumped in with the extra special stuff that Diddy was doing after hours with the whole sex trafficking and the baby oil and all that stuff. So Jamie Foxx does, in the clips that I've seen, makes light of the fact that he dispels the rumors that Diddy was trying to kill him because Jamie Foxx was at those extra curricular activities. And he kind of says something to the effect of, I got out of early. By 9 o'clock, I was at the crib and things didn't look right. He's like, why are you covered with oil, Diddy? Kind of making fun of the fact that all the baby oil was found, stuff like that. So, I'm definitely I wanted to wait till this weekend because I didn't want to rush watch it. So probably Friday or Saturday, I'll sit down, get comfortable, and actually watch it because I'll be honest, Jamie Foxx,
he's hilarious,
does the best job at these specials.
He's he's a great entertainer all around. And the fact that he was almost out of here because it was like, based on, the statements that his daughter put out and, some of the rumors, like Brody was, he was knocking on the door.
Yeah,
he was knocking on the door. And to see him, be able to come back and get his health and, to be able to continue, his work is always good. And it has to kind of, I'll say churn your butter, really annoy you that you don't know exactly what happened to you and how you got there. To me, that would, not only would it bug me, but it would concern me. Like, could this happen again?
Anxiety.
Yeah. Could this happen again? Is there something that I did? Is it something that I ate or something, wrong
something
with
I
me
can prevent?
Right. So glad that brother is back on stage. I'm definitely going to check it out too, because again, like I said, he's a great entertainer. He's a great comic. So, looking forward to catching that.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so that is going to do it for the culture. We're going to move into the hookup. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, Apple announced a bunch of updates, one of which was watchOS 11.2. The main thing that I saw that interested me, because I use it all the time, is when iOS 18 was released, they added the ability, if I'm taking a video recording on my phone, instead of stopping the video and having to start a new video, you can actually on your phone pause the recording. And this comes in handy for me because my son is in soccer and he's in basketball, and I'm not trying to record the whole thing.
Right.
I just want to record my son's specific
when he
highlights.
does something.
And I don't want to have to keep starting and stopping. And then, he didn't do nothing in that. Let me erase it. And start and stop.
And then having to put them all together once you're done.
Right. With this ability on iOS 18, you can actually pause the recording. And then when something else is happening, you can record from that part. And then when you stop, it's just one big video, right?
Gotcha.
So my hookup is watchOS 11.2 adds the ability to where if you're controlling your camera recording from your watch, you can also pause the recording on your watch as well. So in order to do this, again, like I mentioned, I'm not going to go through how to actually do it, but if you use the camera control app on your watch while you're recording something, especially like if you're doing talking head stuff, like I do tech tips all the time on social media, and I'm constantly trying to start and stop the recording on my watch. Now, instead of just starting and stopping it, you can actually, if you have a compatible watch, which I think most of them all of them have that camera control app. Now you can just pause recording instead of starting and stopping. So that is my hookup for the week. If you are trying to set up and record, the camera control feature, the benefit of it is you don't have to use the front facing camera. You can use the rear facing camera that has all the megapixels and has all the zoom and has all the beautiful camera controls. You can turn your phone around and use your watch as a viewfinder. But now with the hookup, you can actually play and pause recordings versus stopping them and starting all over.
Nice.
So that is going to do it for the hookup. Nica, if you don't have anything else, that is going to do it for this week's show. So tell the folks where they can find you.
You can find me at Tech Savvy Diva everywhere.
And you can find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BrothaTech. If you want to connect with the show, you can go to snoboscast.com. That's going to have all the information. You leave comments on the episodes. You can find us on social media. You can find us on Patreon. So if you want to do all that in one spot, please go to snoboscast.com. And that is going to do it. So until next week, I think next week is going to be the last week for the holidays, but we'll keep you posted. But until next week, we're out. Peace.
Bye, everybody.